All right. What's up, guys? This is your weekly theater BJ. I am Buff Brian. Of course, I'm going to choose Buff today because that's how we're going to start.
It's fair enough.
Didn't want to surprise anyone with that.
It's fair enough. I honestly didn't think about this because you just told me we were going to do this. So I'm going to do Jacked Off Jordan.
Jacked Off Jordan, I like it. Buff Brian, Jacked Off Jordan.
That's right.
The first theater BJ.
Theater BJ. Is it theater? Are we doing like cinema? Or is it like, do you think people are going to be confused?
I like theater. I think it rolls off the tongue.
Dear Evan Hansen's coming out soon.
Which one?
Dear Evan Hansen, the movie based off the musical.
Oh yeah, the club that we're part of. I won't say which one. Really wants to do that to screen it.
Oh really?
Yeah. So I didn't hear much about it prior to like watching a trailer. Is it based on a book?
No. It's based off a musical. So it's by I've seen the musical twice. It's really good. It's by the same composers who did La La Land and The Greatest Showman. So the music is unreal. Like the music is fire.
Okay, so the music is intentional in that movie.
What do you mean intentional?
No, like I thought it was just like like an original story, and they just like happened to add music into it. I had no idea. Okay.
No, like it was like originally a musical. Like
Okay.
like the whole story, like the music was all like in one. Like it wasn't based off a book or anything. Like
Okay.
they partnered with I think already a playwright, and they wanted to make a musical about this idea, and then so they wrote the music. I forget the two. I think they're some of the most. I think they're some of the most talented people in Hollywood right now. Just like the way that their music is so catchy. Like The Greatest Showman, like La La Land, like that music is so freaking good.
I have to admit something.
Oh,
I haven't
no.
seen The Greatest Showman.
Dude,
I'm a big Hugh Jackman fan, but I haven't seen it.
dude, I am.
Disappointed.
This better not happen. You and True Detective, like just in case you didn't know, he said he hadn't seen True Detective season 1, which to be fair, I just watched it the first time.
I'm a busy
recently.
Man, Jordan.
Dude, that's like
I have things
must-watch
on my
TV.
plate.
It's must-watch TV.
Okay, we'll get through all the must-watch TV.
All right.
But I will
All right,
preface
fine.
by saying I probably have not seen as much as you. Maybe
Potentially. I don't know.
not. More movies. But on the topic of that movie, because it explores some pretty deep topics, right?
Yeah. So one of the big things that's happening right now with that movie is that it filmed at the was it Venice? I think it was no. It opened up a film festival recently, like a week ago, and I don't remember which one it was now. And it's kind of pissed me off.
Is that how it works? So they open it in the film festival, and then they release the trailers because
Yeah.
someone's bought it and basically is ready to distribute it.
It's either someone's already bought it and they just like they premiere it at a film festival like before the theatrical release, or it's an independent production company that made it, and like they go to a festival and then distributors come and they'll watch it and like it, and then negotiate with the production company to get the like global or like U.S. rights to distribute it, basically.
Okay.
So Dear Evan Hansen, I'm pretty sure was already like, I think it was already ready to be distributed. Like it was all fine. It just premiered at, they just decided to premiere it at a festival.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I don't think it was Venice, because I'm pretty sure Dune premiered at Venice, and that was the big story. But it did premiere at one of the recent festivals, and I'm gonna kick myself for not knowing that. But the big thing is that the musical was really critically acclaimed, and I love it. Like I listen to music all the time, and I've seen the musical twice, and it's awesome.
Yeah, anyone who has seen a musical or like a Broadway production multiple times, you know that it's like it's pretty legit.
And the tickets aren't cheap, so like
Yeah.
it has to be good enough like for me to actually want to see it twice, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is, like, to your point, it is about really sensitive. The themes are pretty dark, and I think that's why what happened at the festival is that the movie's actually got really bad reviews. Not bad, but like not good reviews, which is interesting because it got like almost universal acclaim on Broadway, and I can't imagine they changed that much for the movie. So it's interesting that like you've shifted the medium, and so in a movie form, it's actually not doing as well from a critic standpoint. So maybe when it's released,
Wasn't that the same deal with that one the Hamilton one recently, In the Heights? Like it was an acclaimed Broadway musical, and when it went on screen, nobody went out to watch it. I mean, that could be the pandemic's fault, right?
I think the difference is, and Dear Evan Hansen, we still have to wait to see. But so with In the Heights, they actually got. I'm pretty sure it got really good reviews. So I think it was still. I don't think that was. Yeah, I got 24 on Rotten Tomatoes, but you're right. It didn't get that many like
24%.
So, I'm sorry, 94.
Okay,
so, no, yeah, very different, very different.
Yeah,
no, 94. So it did well. It did really well.
Right.
But I think it was simultaneously. It was the HBO Max like simultaneous release, and yeah, it just wasn't that popular. Not a lot of people saw it. It wasn't like Hamilton. I think people expected the Hamilton like Disney like jump when Hamilton came on to Disney Plus. It like ripped like Disney like Disney Plus soared.
We're not unfamiliar with when something is critically acclaimed and nobody goes to watch it. That's pretty common these days.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean,
well, it's interesting. Like I'll do that with. I'll imagine that with like critics. Sometimes when critics do it, like, 'cause come on, critics a lot of times have like a stick up their ass. Like they think they like know movies better, but
most
like
of them
audiences, yeah.
So do you know what the reason for that is? Like, have you ever wondered? Like, okay, so there's so many movies where it's like audience scores 90% and then critically acclaimed is like 60%, and then vice versa for like very very like progressive type movies, right?
So yeah, no, so I exactly. So I think when it's the first one when it's like audiences hate it but critics hate it but audiences love it. That's like the Fast 9. Like it's just
mainstream movies.
It's mainstream movies, but they're mainstream for a reason. Like it's because people aren't going to a movie to like make sure this is a brilliant piece of cinema. They're just going to have a good time.
Yeah.
And so if you're just there to like escape from reality and just like have a good time and have your suspension in disbelief, like those are the best movies for audiences. Critics are always the one like, well, this is not like what Steven Spielberg would have done, which is why which is also why like I think Steven Spielberg was a genius because he was one of those like perfect where everybody just loved his movies, like everybody,
right?
Including critics. Right? Yeah, like he just like melded the art of like making something that was actually like a good piece of cinema and that was commercially like very successful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's that, and then it's the opposite when the audiences hate it and the critics love it. It's either two things. It's either I think the movie's like just breaks barriers. Like it's like done something that cinema's never done, but it's like so out there. It's such a weird art piece that like audiences are like, what did I just watch? Like this was dumb, or they just don't get it.
The
like,
one that comes to mind for that is Uncut Gems.
Yeah, that one's a tough one. So, I like that one, but yeah, it's tough.
I mean,
it's a lot.
I understood it, right? Like I knew they were going for that like very suffocating feeling. Like I was like, okay, I get it.
Yeah, Adam Sandler, stop screaming, man.
I just
stop talking for 5 seconds. But yeah, that was the point.
Right, that was the point. And then I watched it with my wife, and she watched it. She was like, what the hell did I just watch? Like, what was this?
Roma was like that for me. Roma was
one
like that
shot black and white one.
Yeah, Roma I hated. I watched that. I was like, what? That was nothing. Nothing happened in this. Yeah. And critics were like, just
it's not about
fawning all over.
It's not about something happening. It's about an exploration.
It's that crap
of the human condition.
Right. It's that crap, and you're like, come on, man.
Yeah.
So it's either that or it pushes like pretty much like the Democratic agenda, and then Hollywood's like brilliant, and then it's just not even Democrat. It's just like if it's like the all-female cast or something, critics are like empowerment to women, even though it's like a shitty movie.
Yeah,
they don't care.
On the opposite end, for the ones that the critics hate, but the mainstream audience wants. So apparently that reason is because if your job is to look at all the best movies in the world or to watch every movie and review it, obviously when you watch something that's like average, they're gonna think that it's like terrible because they're comparing it to every movie that they've seen.
Right.
But audiences that go in, they're comparing it to maybe one that they watched like 2 months ago, right? So their starting point is a lot more different.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes sense to me.
Yeah. Well, that goes into like something that I've talked about in like that essay I wrote, which was basically like the definition of quality is pretty much how much it exceeds your expectations. Like that's it. Like you like something when it exceeds your expectation of what you thought that was going to be when you came in.
Yeah.
So if you're a critic, your expectations are like usually through the roof because you've just seen so many good movies. So your standards like very high.
Right.
So that kind of goes with that.
You know what my life motto is in accordance with that? No expectations mean no disappointment. So just going with none.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like think about Sharknado.
Yeah.
Like Sharknado, if you like really define
Wait,
quality.
are you about to rip on Sharknado next? I
No.
didn't know we could do that. Okay,
No.
good.
I'm not. Like it was so popular, people loved it, and it's because people saw the thing and were like, "This is going to be freaking terrible."
Yeah.
And they went in and like, "This was honestly one of the funniest things I've seen," and it's so bad, but like my expectations were nothing.
It's
so, like,
bad,
it
but that's
actually,
the
like,
whole point, right?
Right. That's the whole point.
There's an
So, like,
awareness to that one.
That's why I don't like understand a lot of the times when Hollywood would like crap on a movie like that, but then they'll like love Roma or something, or like a really artsy movie that doesn't make any money, but they're like, "Oh, but it was good cinema." I'm like, I thought you were in the business of making money. I forgot.
Cinema.
Right. Like I get it. You're supposed to be an art,
Oscar-winning
but
art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we could talk forever about just
that's
how
the hard
disconnected.
thing, right? Like they're trying to make money for to be able to produce the ones that are more experimental.
Yeah.
Right. They're kind of playing that game. It's a balancing game.
Yeah.
But so one of the news items I want to talk about was the Facebook files. Did you read up about this?
Was this the one where they have that like list of people who are exempt basically from the rules?
Yeah. So I mean, it's the start. So for those of you guys listening, what I'm talking about is like this Wall Street Journal reporting piece, and it's multi-series.
Yeah.
But the first one is about a whitelist, which is there's people that are very, very high profile that are basically exempt from all the rules. So apparently Neymar.
Yeah, I read this. Yeah.
He
posted like porn. I mean, it wasn't porn,
Yeah.
but it was like naked pictures, right?
Yeah, and it was up for 24 hours, and usually those are kind of culled immediately, right?
Right.
But that one is just up.
The
there.
algorithm must easily like snatch that up.
Yeah. So people are like, okay, like why, right?
Right.
And then, so it's this whitelisting issue, which is crazy. Like I would never would have thought that it goes against everything kind of like that
they
for,
would
right? It's
ever
supposed
say.
to democratize the way that you communicate and share and whatnot. So that was one, and then there was one that came out today that was talking about the insidious effects of like depression, anxiety, and all that caused by Instagram.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
which I kind of like relate to as like someone who like is
insecure about your body.
Oh yeah, sure. That or just me wanting to get big and getting huge, right? Like I mean, I relate to that, and I'm sure. I mean, I see the whey protein over there, so don't hide.
I mean, I'm just comfortable with myself. I just try to stay in shape.
Yeah, but I mean, it's pretty insidious. Like this whole thing is like a hit piece on Facebook, basically saying why it's detrimental for society.
Yeah, it is. I mean, all social media pretty much is.
Yeah. So I think what they kind of explore is that there's like this comparison problem, right? So you get like you get like preteen girls who are going on Instagram, and then all of a sudden they're witnessing this they're comparing themselves to so many different like ideal bodies and all that kind of stuff, and that kind of exposure is not something that we've ever experienced as a society before.
Well, so here's the counter argument. Like we always had like Victoria's Secret models and stuff.
Right. Like that problem has existed, right?
Right. Like we've kind of always, and like, we don't talk about this with guys as much, but like guys have also seen like you had Arnold on the screen. Like, although I think guys, interpret it a little differently, and guys like want to be that versus, I don't know. I sometimes don't get the vibe, and I could be wrong because I'm not a woman, but like most women are just like, yeah, I know. Like it's felt like the difference is when a guy sees like a yoked dude, they're not like, oh, I wish I could be. And no, it's not like jealousy. It's like I want to be there. Like that's where I want to go.
Yeah.
And versus women get like jealous of women with like, and maybe sometimes because it's like literally impossible. Because with dudes like you go to the gym and you can maybe get there, but with women it's like a super skinny woman. It's like okay, I could just like not eat, and even if I don't eat, then like it's a lot genetics at that point. Like with guys, like any guy can get kind of big.
Yeah.
If they just keep going to the gym.
It gets dangerous when it gets into the realm of like, what does this mean to me? Or what does this tell? Like, I am lesser because I'm not the same.
Right.
Like, that's where it's very, very detrimental, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I wonder where they're going with this. But essentially, like, Facebook has... they have internal research teams that look into these issues.
Dude, fuck the internal research teams.
Yeah. So they've apparently had findings that are like, yeah, we are harmful, or like we have increased rates of like depression and anxiety in certain like demographics, but they're not releasing it. So when they publicly state things, right, they're going like, we haven't had any data that supports that it's detrimental, but they're using like external data sources. They're not using their own. And so this whole thing is about like, they know that the data is supporting the negative impacts, but they're not sharing it.
Right.
Which, to play devil's advocate, every company does, right?
Every tech company, yeah.
Right? Because they're choosing what data to show. And like, I mean, I've worked with enough companies to know that when you have a graph that doesn't tell like the right story, you're going to edit it in a way that it tells the right story.
You can manipulate any data to say whatever story you want. You can just like manipulate the data.
I mean, that's like
it's so easy.
That there's a whole job is just dedicated to that. Consultants.
So true though.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude. I mean, Facebook. I mean, this is what they're like. Are they releasing these files, or is this like an investigative report?
It's an investigative report because there's been a lot of like regulatory chatter about it. And so there's some senators who are like, hey, you got to release these things. But Facebook just has continued to decline to release them.
Of course.
So they're now going to reporters, right? So go to the Wall Street Journal or other places to report on it. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I
mean, yeah, the social media thing is scary because I think it's very depressing. We just as humans we were not structured to like take all this information in like all at the same time. Like we just weren't meant to do that constantly, which is making us depressed because we're seeing basically the ideal. We all want to be like perfect. We all want to be the CEO. We all want to start our own company because we're seeing this all the time. But if you were just like a simple farmer, like, and you were just making corn all day, like your expectations of life would be nothing.
When you make that perfect corn, you're like,
what a
day.
Great day.
Yeah, great day.
And that's it. And you're probably so much happier than people who are like making a lot more money than you and like by like all like other standards like are better than you, but they're way unhappier.
Yeah.
Because they're just constantly seeing all this crap. It's like just overall, but that's like the internet.
Yeah.
But with social media, I think is a problem is this idea that like I think some people are banned for like different posts and some people aren't banned for certain posts because they say, oh, it's just the algorithm's messing up. But like realistically, they have people internally that are like, they're making decisions that are making like, I don't like this person. I'm just going to ban them.
Well, they have overrides for almost everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the algorithm like starts them off.
Yeah.
But it's kind of BS that like Mark Zuckerberg, like if he didn't, I don't know, I'm not saying he does this, but like he could absolutely like see some post that he doesn't like and he could be like, fuck off, you know? Like it doesn't even.
He definitely does.
He definitely does.
Yeah. He Zuckers everything.
I know Jack from Twitter wants to like, I think he genuinely does want Twitter to be a better space. I think he just like doesn't know really how to fix it. Like, because they never thought this was going to be like social media is not really social anymore. It's like more news.
Yeah, I want to, and
that's bad.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate in the sense that like this is where we're headed in social media. And if it wasn't Facebook, and if it wasn't Twitter, if it wasn't these companies doing it, some other company would be doing the same thing. But they're just entering uncharted waters where they're going to try to monetize your attention, and all the negative effects we couldn't anticipate because there aren't really like no one could have anticipated the human response to something like that.
Right.
So I guess we're working it out. I think the direction is like, how do we educate people to get better at dealing with it?
Better dealing with social media.
Yeah, in a healthy manner. Right?
I don't know. I mean, I think at first I think social media should be limited. You shouldn't have access to it until college, probably. I feel like people just shouldn't. I don't know. I feel it's so bad for your developmental stage to, especially. I mean, I've seen the stats. Like I read somewhere that the girls' use of it was either Instagram or Facebook or maybe it was just social media overall is just as detrimental to their like mental well-being as like boys' use with heroin. Like they did like a correlation study and it was like almost exactly the same like level.
Boys' use with heroin
in terms of like its correlation with depression, like in terms of like their mental well-being, like how much it went down with their use of heroin.
So you're using the demographic that is like boys that have used heroin and the effects on that,
and like their effects on their mental well-being comparatively to normal boys versus women's mental well-being, like when they use social media goes almost as down.
Holy jeez.
Which means it's really affecting women. I don't know why it's affecting dudes less. Maybe because they just have video games. They're not using social media as much. Or, like, to be honest, guys are probably using social media pretty much just like memes.
Yeah.
You know, and women are probably using that too, but they're also probably doing more serious stuff on social media. You know, I don't know if guys really use social media. Like mine is like mostly memes.
Yeah.
You know, it's mostly jokes.
I go through waves.
Know.
You know, sometimes I'd be like using it a lot, and then other times I'd be like, "Fuck this shit." I'll delete a bunch of them and then not use it, and then I'll be like, "You know what? What's going up? Like, what's happening?
What's happening in the world?"
Yeah, and then I'll go back and then.
I've been recently getting into Twitter. I'm like trying to get out of it because it's just not good.
That's not one that I've ever used.
It's really good for like information if you're like trying to figure out like what's going on in the world. The problem is it's really toxic. Like everybody, the way you get followers on Twitter, unless you're famous from some other means, is just being polarizing. So it's obviously mostly political.
Yeah.
But even then it's pretty much mostly political, which sucks. Like even with celebrities, mostly just post political stuff if they do.
Yeah.
Except for like Ryan Reynolds, who's amazing.
Yeah.
But other than that,
did you
like it's so politicized.
Did you see the Grace Kelly thing that Ryan Reynolds did with Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That was very, very good.
Yeah. What a great tangent.
Dude, honestly amazing. Ryan Reynolds is a gift to mankind.
Yeah.
He just unanimously is. That's like we need more of him in our lives.
Yep.
Same with Will Ferrell actually. They're both pretty good. But I honestly miss those ages where like actors were just actors. Like nobody, like you didn't know what they like stood for. You didn't really care. You were just like, they were really funny on screen. They made me happy. And like, that was it. That was like the actor's job. That was the comedian's job. That was it. And now it's like, if you don't have a political stance, you are like evil. And it's like,
no stance is a stance now.
Yeah, no stance is a stance, which is like, okay, I get that, but also at the same time, like, can we just let them do their job? Like, their job is to either be a really good actor, which is literally pretending to be somebody else,
right?
Or like, it's to make us laugh, it's to make us escape. So like, I don't want to like watch an actor on screen and be like know every single like one of their political views. Like, it just takes me out of it. It takes me out of like the reality of the entertainment that I'm watching for them.
Yeah.
It kind of bums me out. I like that I don't know what political party Will Ferrell stands for because I just don't. First of all, I don't care. Like why? And why would I care about Will Ferrell's political views? He's ill-equipped to like tell me who I should vote for.
So you didn't know he has a political science degree?
I mean, that would be amazing if he did.
Yeah, he dual majored in political science and acting.
Did he?
Yeah, and comedy. No, I'm just kidding.
That'd be really funny.
All right. Yeah. Enough of the social media talk. So
yeah,
why don't we get into a movie that recently came out?
Let's do it.
So
tell me about this name thing.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about Shang-Chi, the first Asian superhero on Marvel, which is great. You know, they're probably going to go through the entire rainbow at some point.
Yeah.
I think it did well.
Rainbow,
so, I mean, economically, they did well, right? So
which is awesome.
Their box office for the first week and the second week is comparable to, like, you know, on track with the like Black Panther, right? It's in that scale.
Yeah. It did way better. I did enjoy that it beat a lot of people who were really negative about it. Like I don't know, there were just people who were like out to get it.
Yeah,
like right off the bat. And I don't know why, because I watched the trailer.
What was the chatter that you heard?
It was just a lot of people were like, I think it was more about people were not optimistic about like Marvel Phase 4. They were just like, it's not going to work.
Oh,
so they're like, we never wanted Black Widow. We're like, nobody's going to give a crap about the new superheroes. Like, Marvel's time is over. We're done with superheroes. And there was just a lot of negativity, I think, going in. I think that's why you could hear like the Simu Liu, yeah. He was very vocal like on social media about like basically crapping on his haters. And I think the reason is because he saw all the negative chatter before without people like actually knowing what it was about or seeing it. So I don't blame him for that necessarily. So I really liked that I liked it and that it beat expectations, because it kind of like, people got to stop being negative, man. Like they do it to get it
was a good flick,
but it was good.
I enjoyed it. It was, so the way that I described it was good, not great, but it wasn't bad, right?
Yeah.
So the name thing, right? So it's
Yeah, what's
spelled
the name
Changchi, and then it's pronounced Shang-Chi.
Right.
But
There's like a whole scene in that in the movie.
yeah, but for those of you that don't know, in Chinese there's this thing called pinyin, which is just the English phoneticization of words that are Chinese translated to English.
Mm-hmm.
And if you pronounce chi, it's actually pronounced ch. It's not the same as chi, right? So it's actually shangshi, the way that which sounds like terrible, right? It's not
really, yeah,
yeah. So like, what basically happened was, probably some white dude was writing the story. I was like, what should we call the master of kung fu? Oh, Shang-Chi. That sounds more along the lines, right? So they probably just
sounds
did
like
that.
It makes sense. That's
yeah,
Chinese.
and then so they just called it CHI, but that's actually phonetically wrong.
Interesting.
So I went in thinking like, as I'm Chinese, I went in thinking like, yeah, Shang-Chi, let's go. And then they're like Shang-Chi, and I was like, oh, it's not a Q. Like that's supposed to be spelled with a Q.
Interesting.
Yeah, not a CHI. But yeah, I thought it was good. A lot of people were applauding it for like being, I guess, progressive in a way because it's it's Asian and it's also breaking stereotypes, so to speak. But is it really? Is it really? He is the master of kung fu.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, something that I thought about it, and to be fair, I was pretty stoned when I watched it. I'm gonna just say this right now.
Nice.
And I get weird thoughts when I watch it. I still greatly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But I did think it was interesting. What I liked about it was that it felt, I don't know if like, the thing is when I watched like Jackie Chan when I was a kid, like he was awesome and I loved him and he was like a role model of mine, but he didn't feel American. Like I just kind of knew he was Chinese. And that didn't mean I thought of him negatively, but I didn't think of him like an American. And in this one was interesting. It was like the fact that he had a Chinese background, but I still like he was an American though. Yeah. Which I thought was kind of cool. It showed the beauty of America and that like all the people from all different types of backgrounds, like all these immigrants came to America and they're American. They're not Chinese.
I'm going to stop you
American.
there. He's Canadian, actually.
Yeah, I know. But he had an American accent, like the character is American.
Yeah.
But
he's
like,
from San Francisco, right?
Yeah. So I kind of like them embracing like the fact that he did have a background like in Chinese culture, but it wasn't like he was Chinese. Like he was actually like an American.
I think that's that's what they're. I think that was intentional.
That was kind of the idea, I guess.
Yeah. Because I think this movie appeals to the Asian American or Asian Canadian crowd,
right?
Because there's this whole generation of people who are now like they're either first, second gen North Americans, and that's what they're going for. So this kind of movie, like, it'll probably do well in China because it's like a big blockbuster. If it gets the release.
Yeah.
But I don't think Chinese people will resonate as much to these characters because they're pretty much Americans, but they're.
Did you hear about the controversy about that in China?
There was a controversy. Oh, of course, there's a controversy.
The Chinese people, as far as I've seen in the media, have been very. I mean, to be fair, it's the American media, so like they will do that. But like, apparently, Chinese people have not been a super huge fan of the movie, and I think it's because, well, two things. It's like they really don't like the actor.
Really?
The big one. I don't know. Well, the first one was kind of superficial. Was that they posted advertising for it online in China, and like Chinese people were calling him ugly. They were literally being like, "This dude's not attractive at all."
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Which is brutal.
The beauty standards are very different.
Yeah,
so, they're very, very different. Like
how so? How is like what is the difference? Like he's a good looking dude, so
man,
I'm confused.
I'm going to be dancing a very, very fine line here. So
you don't have to answer if you don't want to. But
no,
I'm curious why.
So in Asia right now, they're more geared towards like well-groomed, more kind of fair-looking men. That's just kind of the trend, right? Like they're following like in the footsteps of like Koreans, Japanese, and like they've been the ones kind of pushing this aesthetic. Yeah, and that's kind of going
like K-pop, like kind of stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not the Arnolds of the world, right? They're more like the BTSs of the world, right? Yeah, that's kind of the aesthetic that they would call attractive, and so
interesting.
Simu was kind of in between, right? He's like more of a manly man, so it's kind of it's a little bit different. But I think so that's why it appeals to Asian Americans and not necessarily like the Chinese audience, right?
That's interesting. That's funny. But
so that was for today.
Yeah, seriously. Well, so that's one thing, which is actually hilarious because I heard the Chinese government was like trying to change entertainment in China to like make them more manly.
Yeah.
So which is kind of ironic.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
aren't they saying like we were banning like K-pop stuff because we don't want people to like skinny dudes?
Yeah, that's more of a generational thing.
Yeah.
And we could go much deeper into that.
Yeah,
but
no,
we
no,
don't
no.
have to.
No, let's not get into that. But so it was that. So it was the attractiveness thing that was kind of a problem. But like that's not a big deal. But then, and this is kind of what happened to Chloe's
Chloe Zhao.
Zhao.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that she crapped on China, which was that I think he said that I think his parents immigrated from China, and they said basically that people were slaves in China. And he said that publicly.
Wait,
and
Chloe Zhao, the
no,
director, said that?
She said something. I don't think it was exactly. It was something like, "I fled China because like China like starves their people or something."
Yeah.
But he said like 5 years ago. This is like the crappy thing about the internet. He said like 5 years ago, somebody in China pulled up this clip of him saying basically is like he moved from China because his mom was like they were starving or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And so that came out, and so everybody in China is like, screw him. He's bashing
If you're
China.
a celebrity,
Like-
or if you're intending to be a celebrity, you can't go on Twitter. You just can't. Like
You can't go on Twitter. Like you can basically not be public until you're like actually out.
Yeah.
Like it's brutal because people just bring up everything. And,
Exactly. It's public record at that point. That's why you don't
Yeah.
have a Twitter, Jordan.
I only have a Twitter. I don't post anymore. I haven't posted since like 2011, but I still
It's kind of a risk. It's a reputational risk at this point.
absolute
Yeah.
massive risk, dude.
All right. So I think we've been on for like over 30 minutes now. So why don't we wrap it up there?
okay.
What did you have a recommendation for any TV shows?
So TV shows. So wait. Well, should we give like Shang-Chi like a grade?
Yes. Okay.
I feel like we should like end it with a grade.
Okay,
right?
fine. You give a grade and explain to me what your criteria is, and then I'll give you a grade.
Okay, I would say it's
Maybe we should have created our own little matrix.
Rubric?
Yeah, a rubric of it.
how good of a BJ, you know?
Yeah. Like, is this like a top end theater BJ, or
That's a good question. I don't know. It's definitely not. So I wouldn't say this is like a top end. Like it wouldn't like blow my mind.
Yeah.
I'm honestly reserving that possibly for Dune. I'm like really pumped for Dune.
Yeah. Did you read the book?
No, I didn't. I
Okay.
should read it. Have you?
No, I told myself I'll read all the books before the movie comes out. But
Okay.
that's
Yeah,
not
it's
going to
not gonna
happen. We know that's not going to happen.
But it just looks sick.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I
Out
think
of 10.
out of 10, I would probably give it.
You
I
can
give
use
it.
decimals.
I feel like I should use it. It'd be like the Dave Porno like pizza review, like no
Yeah.
straight numbers.
Yep.
I would give it like. I would give it like an 8.1. Like
8.1. That's a B minus.
Yeah. I mean, so
Okay.
I liked it a lot, but it didn't like break any barrier. Like it didn't like change my life or anything, but I had
Yeah.
a really good time during it.
It was executed well.
It was
That's all- I'll
executed
give that.
really well. Like I
Yeah.
enjoyed the story. Like I thought it was all really good. Honestly, my only real like big critique is I actually don't think the writing for him was great. Like I actually think
Yeah.
him as a character was kind of boring. Like
Yeah, he was a little bland.
yeah, he was a little bland compared to everybody else. Everybody else around him was like his dad. Whenever he came on the screen, you're like,
Yeah.
this dude.
Yeah,
like,
he
you just
stole the
knew.
show.
He stole it every time he was on
That
screen.
guy, by
you're
the
like,
way,
this
is
guy's
massive
nuts.
in China. He's
Yeah, I
like,
heard
he's
that.
a huge star in China.
He's Hong Kong, right? He's a Hong Kong star, like an action star. I don't know.
I can't remember, to be honest, but I know his name is Tony Wang.
Yeah,
that's about it.
I heard he's like a legend.
Yeah, he's a legend.
and I can see it. Like you see him on screen, he's just got star presence. You're like, whew.
Yeah. He stole the show for most of the movie.
And that was my only thing was like with a lot of the other Marvel superheroes when they came on the screen, like they were the protagonists. Like when they
True.
came, they gave a presence. You're like,
Okay.
this dude is it, or this girl is it.
Like, he
versus-
can carry the movie.
Right, they can carry the movie, and I don't know necessarily if it was the actor, but it like I can't say that for sure. But the writing didn't do him any favors. Like he was just kind of boring compared to like everybody around him.
I
They were a lot more
agree.
entertaining.
I agree. And I'm
Yeah.
personally not the biggest fan of Awkwafina.
You aren't?
I'm not. She has yet to show me something that I've fallen in love with so far.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But we'll get there eventually, I think. But so for me, I think similar. It was good, not great. I didn't really think too much about it. I did like the father-son dynamic because that's a very, very Asian American kind of thing. It's kind of like you have like this relationship where it's like adversarial, but also kind of like very supportive, but like beneath the surface. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I did enjoy that. I'd probably give it a 85. So like a mid B, but for Asians, that's basically enough. So. They've got to take
well
that
done.
L.
well done.
Yeah, bringing it full circle. Yeah.
That really ended it very, very well.
Yeah.
But it's definitely worth seeing in the theaters, I think.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wouldn't watch it at home.
Not that Disney needs all the support that they need right now, but it's worth going to the theater for.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite the spectacle.
Did you see Black Widow?
I did.
Did you think it was like theater worthy, or do you think it was like I could have watched it at home?
I accidentally fell asleep for like the
so
mid
watch
20
at home.
minutes. So I think watch at home. I mean, it just,
I haven't seen it yet, so I don't know.
When I was watching that movie, I was like, why do I need this movie? Like, it didn't really have any bearing on anything.
100%.
So
that's exactly my thought.
Yeah,
why
like I just came out of the experience because I was like, I'm not invested in this at all.
Like, who cares?
You know? Yeah, exactly.
We know she dies. This is gonna have no impact to the Marvel universe at all.
Oh, she dies. Spoiler alert. Post fact.
Oh yeah, in Endgame. Yeah, I mean honestly, if you didn't know that, like it's their own fault at this point.
Yeah. Well, anyways,
okay.
Great chat. Let's do this again sometime.
Yeah. Oh, let's do TV show recommendations.
Okay.
So
I don't have one, so why don't you?
You don't have one? All right. So mine will be, and we'll talk about this later and think who has the most. This should be a topic for later about like which streaming platform I think is kind of ripping it with content right now.
Yeah.
Because I would argue right now. HBO Max is honestly destroying
100%
content-wise.
Everything on HBO Max is amazing.
Yeah, honestly, it's literally killing.
They do not miss on that platform. Yeah,
they really don't.
There's a huge number of product issues, but they don't miss from a content perspective.
I went on Netflix for like the first time like 3 months ago, and I was like, I missed the app. Like the app is way better,
streamlined.
It's so annoying. I'm like, can't these apps just copy Netflix, man?
Yeah.
So I did miss that because I just haven't used Netflix in a while, but. HBO Max has been killing it. I watched The White Lotus.
Is that the one with Nicole Kidman, or is that a different one?
No, that is that's the one. Why am I spacing on that name?
It's like a culty one or something.
Yeah, it's with that dude who used to be in all the rom-coms.
Okay, well, tell us about White Lotus. Totally forgot.
So White Lotus is really interesting. So the director. The showrunner, was inspired by Alfred Hitchcock. So it's really interesting in terms of the way it's shot, in terms of the way that the soundtrack's really interesting. It's very eerie. Mm-hmm. And it's basically a story about these people, like these really rich people going to like a private island for a week. And it's just kind of like
it's not a game show. It's an actual scripted thing, right?
No, it's actually scripted. Yeah, it's actually scripted. It's a limited series. I think like maybe only 6 episodes for like an hour.
Awesome. Then I could
so
do
it's
that
easily
over a weekend.
Yeah. I think I literally did it in a weekend. Like I watched like 3 episodes on Saturday and Sunday and it was done.
Yeah.
It's really good. It's just very interesting. Escalates quickly. Actually, not super quickly, but it keeps you engaged. Like it's not super slow. You know, there's a lot of shows that they take you a little bit too long to get into, you know?
Yeah.
And
Hooks
this
you
one
right off the bat.
Yeah, and this one like keeps you pretty engaged from the get-go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like a bunch of families going to a resort and just like stuff goes down. And
hijinks ensues.
Yeah. Yeah. And they touch on a lot of like interesting things that are going on in our culture, like male addiction to video games, like just like class warfare, the difference in like views in younger and older generations, how they view the world. Like it's very interesting, like the way they approach it.
Yeah. Well, we'll probably do this one over the weekend. Then I'll let you know how it goes,
dude. Yeah, we should definitely. Yeah, if we do it. Yeah, if you watch it before Sunday, then
let's do it.
We can discuss it.
All right. Well, cool. Awesome,
all right, man. All right.
Well, thanks for listening.
And do we have like an end phrase or something? We can figure out something
later.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.
All right. Peace.